Some work needs to move fast, some needs to move carefully. Some is about action, others are analysis. If you treat all the work the same, you create friction. Different teams are built to handle different kinds of problems. So when we see teams behaving differently, it can mean that the work they're doing and the thing they've been protecting requires a different way of acting, of moving. And it's visible in everyday operations. So think about an emergency department at a hospital. Do they act before they know all the facts or wait as long as it takes to fully understand the situation before they get to work? Do they share information transparently with the team or contain it so that it won't overwhelm people? Do they work around processes that aren't getting results or take the time to fix them in the moment? Do they follow standards and coordinate efforts, or do they allow everyone to do their own thing? Generally speaking, there aren't right answers, but when it comes to the specific load, ideally we'd be looking at action, sharing, speed, and alignment. Now think about another role, hospital case management. Legally, they have to have full understanding and they need to strictly contain information. Going around established processes creates problems, exceptions that can end up denying coverage, not getting payments. Everything needs to be coordinated and aligned. Both behaviors are correct, but they move differently. If you force one to operate like the other, you create problems. And this is where archetypes come in. Workplace archetypes are just patterns of how work moves. Each one protects something important. Engineering protects accuracy and verification. Manufacturing protects flow and consistency. Neither is wrong, but they're built for different kinds of load. So you end up with, oddly, a system that is stable, but can't deliver what either of the conflicting archetypes are designed to deliver. It doesn't make the organization crumble. It allows it to keep working, but it settles into this lower plateau of performance. Not the best, but not a complete failure. From what we've seen, this is where a lot of organizations get stuck because nothing looks broken enough to force a huge change, and people are picking up the drop balls and putting out fires as they find them. You're surviving. Nothing improves enough, though, to reach the targets. When there are problems, we see it in behavior first. That's the thing that's visible. We see someone skip a step or push something through. A defect shows up late. So it's natural to focus on whatever behavior led to it. We coach, we retrain, we correct the mistakes individuals or teams make. But behavior is the last thing in the chain. Whatever it was that caused or enabled that behavior, that thing came first. And we should be seeking it out. So not asking the who made the mistake, focusing on where did the system stop carrying the load. We're trying to figure out at what point the structure began to encourage or enable the wrong behavior. Because when the system stops carrying the load, who compensates? The people. And that changes behavior. In our past experience, this has been where people tend to have the most questions. I'll keep this up for now.
Tate, we have a question about the archetypes visual that's on the screen right now.
Yep.
Can you explain the leftmost column in the gray?
The gray section that is on the top and the left, these are looking at these values. So action versus analysis, speed versus stability, share, contain, aligned, independent. The terms, I think, might be a little different, but what we are looking at here is transparency versus restricted and standardized versus independent, autonomous. And then along the top, we're looking at fast and steady versus analysis first or action first. So these are labels, not additional data. It's trying to help you understand what leads to, say, coordinated execution. We have fast action, standardized and transparent. This is what an emergency room ideally would look like, coordinated execution. This standards validation, steady analysis, restricted information, standardized process, that is where your administration, your case management is likely to be most effective. If you try to run your emergency room with this process, people will not survive your waiting room. It does not support the load that ER is put under.
I think what's really interesting One of the things that I am learning through my research is everything is just in so many layers, right? So even if from the stance of team function, team dynamics, team performance, fixing those components a little bit, to your point with workplace archetypes here, there's so many moving parts and so many things that layer on top of each other that, if you think that you're solving for one thing, it really could be something else.
Mhm.
So I really like what you have here because it's bringing more visibility into areas that need to be addressed or that really could be the root cause,
Right.
and not just a contributing factor.
Right. Well, I appreciate that. The reason why this is here is because as I was doing early consulting work, I didn't have a way to see those layers. And so it was trial and error of what is it that's going to make sense? How granular do we have to get? And realizing you can't train every single person to do every single potential task perfectly, and that the system has to accommodate. And it was sort of that realization that those layers you're talking about, it's not just different layers of an organization, but different ways of being that you're seeing with the archetypes. So yes, it's very complex. This was my current best attempt at trying to give people structure to be able to talk about the stuff that's happening and accurately diagnose.